Sandeep, talk to us a little about how India's position has always been about not using its strength to provoke conflict, but being prepared. And that's a message of preparedness that is being sent by President Murmu today.
Absolutely. And given the fact that it's going to be nearly 6 months from Operation Sindoor, and the operations are ongoing according to the Indian military. And this is actually a part of deterrence to show Pakistan that not to try anything, no misadventures in this period, because there is a tremendous amount of pressure at this moment on the Pakistan military on multiple fronts. Whether it is internal or it's external from Afghanistan. They're fighting a border conflict with Afghanistan that's on and off. They have internal insurrections in Balochistan and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. And as we've seen in the past, whenever the Pakistan military comes under a lot of internal pressure and also on the border, it tends to carry out a diversionary attack in India. We've seen that in the past, in 2001, the parliament attack, in 2008 when they attacked Mumbai. This is India's warning to the Pakistan military that do not think that something like this will go unpunished. If you carry out an attack of this sort, there will be retaliation, and that retaliation will be very swift and decisive. So it is a part of signaling to the Pakistan military as well, which is, as I mentioned, under tremendous pressure, but also believes that because of its newfound bromance with the United States, it believes it has a window of opportunity which it can exploit to try and get away with needling India in a military attack or in a terror attack of the kind that we saw in Pulwama. So this is part of messaging, and we've seen the Indian political leadership, the Indian military leadership consistently messaging Pakistan over the last couple of weeks. We've seen unprecedented statements coming from Defense Minister Rajnath Singh, the Army Chief General Trivedi, and of course the Air Force and the naval chiefs warning Pakistan against any misadventure. And as of now, there is a tri-services exercise that is underway in Gujarat and Rajasthan. It's called Trishul 2025. It's meant to test the readiness of the three services, the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force. There will be fighter jets deployed there, Sukhoi 30s, Rafales, naval warships, an infantry division backed by armor, and the howitzers will be deployed to test India's readiness, its capability, and of course its willingness to defend its southwestern flanks with Pakistan. So multiple messaging, and the timing of President Murmu's flight is part of that messaging, that politico-military messaging that India is sending out to Pakistan to deter any misadventure from GHQ Rawalpindi.
Absolutely, Sandeep, be with us. Once again, going back to these pictures coming in from the Ambala airbase a few moments ago, where the President arrived at the airbase and now getting ready for the sortie. I'm being told these are live pictures coming in. The President already in that overall and moving towards the fighter jet, the Rafale jet. Of course, the sortie is being undertaken by President Droupadi Murmu. It's in fact, she had undertaken a similar sortie the last time around, was in the year 2023, and this was on board, I beg your pardon, Sukhoi. The Rafale and its induction to the Indian Air Force, reflecting India's strategic partnerships, aspirations for domestic defense industry growth. The sortie, a message of the advanced capability of the platform that Rafale is outfitted for multi-role missions, air-to-air and air-to-ground operations, and long-range strike capability. It's a strong symbol of confidence in the Air Force, the aircraft, and the service personnel. All right, on your screens, a visual opportunity, a photo opportunity there right now with the President all set. I'm going to go back to Kamal to take us through the details of pictures coming in from the Ambala airbase at this point in time, where the President looks all set in that overall soon to go on board Rafale. Kamal. Connect with her in a moment from now, but these are the last minute arrangements being made for the president to ready her to get into the cockpit. And these are pictures coming in from Ambala airbase. If I could ask Sandeep also to take us to those pictures coming in of the president getting ready, dear Sandeep.
Well, absolutely. And, President Murmu is one of the rare presidents to have got multiple sorties. As you mentioned, that she flew 2 years ago in a Sukhoi 30 in the northeast, and now she's flying a Rafale. So the Rafale and the Su-30 MKIR, the two frontline aircraft in the Indian Air Force's inventory, the two strike aircraft, the two primary strike aircraft. Of course, you have the LCA, but those have not been inducted in large numbers. There are only two squadrons of them. And of course, you have the Mirage 2000, a very capable aircraft from the 1980s, which has been consistently upgraded. But the Rafale is literally the tip of the spear when it comes to multi-role, fighter aircraft missions. It's not only an air-to-air fighter, it's an interceptor, it can carry out strike missions, that is air-to-ground missions. It can carry anti-ship missiles to have maritime attacks, to carry out maritime attacks. So it's a multi-role aircraft. It's the kind of aircraft that the Indian Air Force wants more numbers of. There is a requirement for something like 114 Rafales, which the Indian Air Force is projecting. The Indian Navy, of course, has also bought the Rafale for its aircraft carriers, the Vikrant and the Vikramaditya. There's 28 Rafales that the Indian Navy has purchased, which it will take delivery of towards the end of this decade. So in a sense, the Rafale is an aircraft like the Mirage 2000, which was acquired by India in the 1980s, a very capable multi-role aircraft, which continued in service for more than 4 or 5 decades. And clearly, the Rafale will be the successor to the legacy of the Mirage 2000, given the numbers that we are already operating and will possibly operate well into this century. So President Murmu back again in very familiar gear, which is a flying suit, that olive green flying suit that she donned once more. She donned once again after two-year gap. The Supreme Commander of the Indian military, signaling her readiness, her desire to be with the troops, to encourage them, especially the troops along the western boundary facing Pakistan. Ambala is a key Air Force base. It overlooks Pakistan. It was targeted by Pakistan unsuccessfully, of course, during the Operation Sindoor 88-hour conflict with Pakistan. So India, again, sending multiple messages. The President of India, the Supreme Commander of the Indian military, taking a sortie in a frontline Indian Air Force aircraft, the Rafale, in Ambala, within possibly sight of Pakistan. And Pakistan will be watching this flight very closely for various reasons. The Rafale is something that has spooked them, and they've gone all out to launch a propaganda war, talking about downing multiple Rafales and all that. So, that also tells you about the mindset of the Pakistan Air Force. They only exist to counter the Indian Air Force in the sky. But, of course, as we've seen during Operation Sindoor, that massive rampage by the Indian Air Force on the 10th of May shattered multiple Air Force, Pakistan Air Force ground installations, air bases, radar sites, command and control centers. These are some of the most significant attacks post-1971, and all in a span of under 30 minutes. It's remarkable, the width and depth and expanse of this attack carried out in such a short span of time by Indian Air Force aircraft that stood off on our side of the international boundary and launched their missiles, primarily the BrahMos air-to-ground missiles, and targeted these air bases very easily and signaled that India would, when it came to escalating, India was on top of what they call escalation dominance over Pakistan. And it was Pakistan on the 10th of May that sought U.S. intervention and signaled its readiness to de-escalate and go into a ceasefire. Of course, Pakistan has built up its propaganda ever since to suggest that it had the upper hand in that. But very clearly, soldier to soldier or airman to airman or pilot to pilot, the Pakistan Air Force understands that it was completely outgunned, it was outmaneuvered. and it was out BrahMosed by the Indian Air Force, Mia.